Hi everyone, my name is Ashish, and in this video we are going to create a simple rename tool from Unreal's Editor Utility Widgets. These are a part of UMG, which is Unreal Motion Graphics. In simple terms, if you want to rename all your assets, which are basically meshes or textures, and you want to select all of them together and basically rename it to whatever prefix or suffix you want to give, like t underscore textures, right? Whatever you want to give it. So we are going to take a look at how to create our own tools and Editor Utility Widgets, correct? So let's get into it. By default, your stuff will be empty, right? So I'm just going to, in the content, I'm going to create a folder which will be widgets. And inside widgets, I'm going to right click Editor Utilities and Editor Utility Widget, right? So this will be almost similar to our UMG, which is Unreal Motion Graphics, right? So you can select all these classes, whatever you want, but I'm going to select a stack box. It automatically will stack whatever content we provide to itself, right? Like horizontally or vertically. So I'm going to rename it to UW underscore rename to. Okay. So these are Editor Utility Widgets. Whenever you are using it, don't just rename it to just a simple rename tool, because in this particular widget we can add a lot more stuff, like a debug kind of thing or something else which you are creating a tool for. I'll just open it and keep it here. Right. So by default our stack box is here. If you don't want the stack box to be here, you can just type stack box and drag and drop it here. Cool. So our stack box will be here. Now what we want is to create two buttons. Not two buttons, we can just create a simple button for a rename tool, right? I'm going to create a button. So this is a common one, Editor Utility button. I'm just going to drag and drop on the stack box, right? So you can see how it automatically stacks up to its own height on the left hand side. So stack box, you can see on the stack box, if I go to advanced, not advanced, if I go to stack box, you can see the orientation, horizontal or vertical, wherever you want it, right? So I'm gonna keep it horizontal for now. Okay, I'll go to my button and basically I can align it like this. It will be on top. Okay, I'm gonna align this so you can see this how our button is here, right? So we might need to increase the size and all those things, so you can do it, right? And if I compile it and run a utility widget, it will show me a button, right, which I can click. So this is a very basic understanding of how this UMG works. We have already created a button, and once I create it, it is basically giving me a window for a utility widget, and now I can assign functions to this button. First of all, what we need to do is to name it properly. So this is our button, but we need some text on it. So I'll just select and put it under here. So the text block is here. So in the text block, I can type so what we are going to do in Editor Utility button is to keep it our scale and translation to whatever we had. We don't need to change it here, because once we apply the text, it will automatically reformat it to the whatever our text size and scale is, correct? So on the text blocks, I am going to write rename. There's a simple rename tool. I'll compile and check again with run utility. You can see there's always a rename tool. So now what we want is let's go to our content browser. I can go here and I have some few meshes imported and textures already imported. Their names are Flash, Glow, Ground Impact, and Star, right? Now I want to rename it by selecting all these. I'm going to select all these, and once I click rename, they should automatically rename to T underscore whatever our values are. Whatever we have given our name, like renamed it to. So that part, the designing part of this is going to happen in the graph, right? So this was our visual design, how it's gonna look. We can always change and play with all these settings which are on the right hand side. I'm now going to graph. We need to access these tools, right? We need to access the button to assign some values to it. So I'm going to click on the button and I'm going to check this option on, which is variable. So now if I compile it and go to graph, you can see our editor utility button 82 is here. You can rename it here as well. Instead of editor utility button 82, you can see I can rename it to button underscore rename and compile it. So this is a very basic thing which we do. So now you can see our button rename is here. We don't need all these because we are not using it while the gameplay is going on. We are just making it for the ease of use in our editors. So we don't have to manually go and rename each and every assets. We have our button rename. So now what we can do is on click, we want to do something, right? So if I click on this button rename and there's an event called onClicked. You have other events as well. If you want to play with them, you can. So I'm going to create an onClicked event. So now what I want to do is to get all the selected actors. So I can go here, get selected actors actually. So it will automatically take everything which is selected. So now it gives us an array of all the values. So what we need to do is we need to find its original name and we need to assign a new name to it, right? So for that, what we do is for loop, for each loop. So for everything we have in this array, so whatever we have selected, we will get all the elements of that. The few things we need to do is it can be of any class, right? It can be a texture or a mesh or whatever we are providing it to. So we need to set a class for it. So get class. So we will get a class of whatever we are going to find, and I'm going to type find. With this find node, we can find whatever properties we want to find of this, right? So I'm going to create another variable, which will be a file rename. Okay, just naming it like that. I'm going to make it an object first. So I want it to be a class reference. We want a class to be referenced from this. And what we need to find is now the string values. So string values are basically whatever our file path is. So in the object, I have selected it as a class reference and I'm going to map it. So in the map, we want string to be called out. So now if I drop it here, let file rename, put it here. But it's not working. Object class references. To find, and now the return value should be this. Yeah, it should work. I don't know why it's not taking that, or is it something weird? Basically, now you can find from here. Can map, and instead of class you can get this return value from here. So we have now our whatever file is there, right? But we want to rename it to something else. What we need to do is now we'll get the object path. So we have gotten this object path string. So now I'm gonna select split. We want to split the path first, right? We want to actually get the file name part. So there are a few different kind of splits here. One is string, paths and all. So strings we are creating right now, we need to replace it to the file name part. So I'm gonna replace it now replace the string. So our source will be this to our file name part. We want to change our file name path. So there's a string which we need to put it here, which will be, it's a kind of a function. So fn, which is file name, run, which is fn, will automatically rename the file whatever we are providing it to. Correct? We need to provide it here in the file rename options. I'm gonna do this rename asset. Correct? So our new name will be this. What our asset will be the array element we already figured out here. I'm gonna just make it a little cleaner, and I can branch it. So now I will take a branch. So if we find the asset which we have selected, right? If nothing is selected, it won't proceed further than this, right? So what we are gonna do is we are gonna take a condition where whenever it's true, it will do it, and whenever it's false, it will do nothing. Correct? So here is our rename asset. I'll compile it just to check and run utility widget. So you can see our rename option is there. Correct? It's working fine now. But what are we naming it to, right? We need to set those rename. So we have our file rename stuff. So we got the class, we found the file rename part, which is an object, and we need to change it object class reference, and we are going to change it to a string. So now what values we are providing it to? I'm going to select a static mesh. We have some meshes, right? Static mesh, what we need to rename it to sm underscore. So whatever our function was there, we put a file name. Fn is here, right? So sm underscore whatever the file name is. This is our. So for second one, we are going to use texture 2D, right? I'm going to rename it to t underscore our file name, to compile it and save it, right? So I'm just going to go over the code again, right? So once we click the button rename, we are going to get the selected actors, whatever we have selected, right? And for each of the elements we have, we are going to get the class of it, right? We are going to find the name. So we are going to the object class reference and getting the string and renaming it to what part. So we are going to get the object part string and split it to get the file name part. So we are going to rename the file name, which is fn, right? So our source is this to whatever we are changing it to. So this function, which is file name, we are going to create a string here, right? And in the file rename part, I'm going to assign the values for whichever I'm renaming it. So for static mesh, I want a sum underscore file name, right? And for texture 2D, I'm going to make it t underscore file name, and it's supposed to rename the asset. I'm going to close this. So now when I run a utility widget, it will open here, right? It will open as a separate box, so I can basically snap this on the left hand side. I'm going to select all these and I'm going to rename it. So that doesn't work because let's see. Now when I have clicked on a button and I am getting get selected actors. So what we did wrong here is we don't need to do get selected actors. We need to set it to get selected assets. We want the assets, not the actors actually, right? This and take this. I'm going to type for each loop. Continue this here. The array element, I'm going to this here. This. So now it should work because now we are getting the get selected assets. For actors, it is a different kind of approach, but yeah. for selected assets. You can go here, save it. I can stop and run again. It will come here. So now it is supposed to be like this. Like whenever we have static meshes selected, it will rename it to sm underscore, and whenever we have texture selected, it should rename it to t underscore. Right. So I'm going to select both my meshes and textures. I'm going to select everything at once. So you can see I have different textures now and meshes. I'm going to rename it. So that should work fine. So you can see our sm underscore, it's renamed to sm underscore, t is t. Our static meshes are all underscore, sm underscore, right? And textures are t underscore. So that is your tool. Sometimes when these doesn't work, so you can go and properly create all these things. So just to go through again, selected assets for each loop, get the rename thing, get the actual file name part, replace the source string from this and file rename, and we can rename the asset.